Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 4 of Ball Club Confidential from Aspire Media Group. It's a digital series that we've had a lot of success with through the first 3 runs. Last week, if you didn't get to see us, Cooper Mays, Darnell Wright, man, they were awesome. Showed so much personality in that episode. Hope you get a chance to check that one out along with Jalen Hyatt. And then, of course, our inaugural episode, that being Josiah Jordan James and Cedric Tillman. We got a great show for you tonight, headlined by Bru McCoy. Tennessee coming off a tough loss at South Carolina. No one saw that coming. Nobody. But yet the Vols fall. They're now 9-2 on the season. We'll look to get their 10th win coming up on Saturday against Vanderbilt. It'll be the first time since 2003 Tennessee's got the 10 wins in a regular season. Let's bring in Spire NIL guru Brandon Spurlock. Brandon, you got a big tailgate coming up on Saturday in Nashville. A lot of Vol fans in the mid-state. Kind of take us through kind of what you all have planned.
Yeah, it's hard to believe it's already the last game here. We're approaching the end of the season here, into the regular season. So we've got a plan. We'll be sending it out later this week, but we'll be in the, I think it's called like the Commodore Lawn right there near the stadium. So we'll have a tent set up. We get our tent location I think on Wednesday that we'll share with everybody. So excited to kind of do that final hurrah and then get into postseason and basketball and whatever's next. So.
Yeah, make sure you watch for that information in the newsletter. One thing I do want to announce tonight on the show, and we don't have a name for it yet, but coming up on December 21st, which is the first signing period on that Wednesday, we will be having a private event. You will have to pay to go to it, but it's to raise money for NIL. Coach Heupel, several of the assistant coaches will be there, along with Brent Hubbs and myself. We'll be taking questions. We'll be telling recruiting stories. We'll kind of break down the class with the staff, Coach Heupel and his staff, and we're really excited about that. So be on the lookout for that. Be an early pre-sale for all Ball Club members. A chance to go ahead and get access to that event coming up on December 21st. That's one I know you guys are really excited about.
Yeah, we're excited. It's an event that we're bringing back. I think I don't know how many years it's been since we've done those former signing day events that Tennessee used to do. So a chance to bring something back but put a new twist on it. We're still kind of developing what that's going to look like exactly, but something that's right around the corner. But also maybe we can in an interesting way kind of go on the heels of the excitement of signing day and also looking ahead to what's next here. So involving the coaches, maybe some players, adding a little new flair to it. So.
Before we get you out the door, basketball season, tailgates obviously will change because it's 12 degrees, but you guys will still have watch parties, especially for road games, places where Ball Club members, Tennessee fans can kind of get together and watch the Vols.
Yeah, I think basketball is not typically a sport that you think about tailgating, but we're looking at 2 games in particular on Saturdays where we can do a tailgate just because we've had so much success. And, the root of that is, consistently adding value to Vol Club memberships. I think we've got, approaching 1,600 members now, and another 60, I'd say like major donors that we're always trying to steward and add value to. So that tailgate is just one way to do it. But looking for other opportunities as we get into the off season of football, into the season of basketball, to continue adding value for those members that have been with us from the start.
The real question is will Hunter Badur be tough enough to withstand those 13-degree temperatures on a tailgate during basketball season?
We're looking inside, we can make it work for him.
No doubt, we'll get him a heater, some hot hands. All right, let's bring in our special guest on the evening, number 15 from California to Rocky Top, Bru McCoy. Let's go back a year ago. You go into the transfer portal, you're trying to figure out where to go. Mm-hmm. What made Tennessee kind of a place you wanted to look at? And then how quickly did you kind of realize, could really fit into the offense here?
For me, it was really a big portion of it was Velus Jones. Him and I were teammates together at USC, and we became really close friends for that period of time. And then Chase McGrath, too. We went to high school together and then USC together. So they spoke really highly of the staff and the people here, which to me was like one of the bigger factors, was like the type of people you're going to be around, because that's really important. And when they spoke so highly, like I really wanted to play in the SEC. I felt like that's the best competition out there. So for me, the decision was like really based on the type of people who I was going to be playing for, and then the offense, obviously, how you can be successful in the offense. And I saw that with Velus and how successful he was, and then how happy he was here also. So kind of made the decision easy.
You come in for a visit. What did you see on that visit that resonated with you and your mom and dad?
Well, like I said before, we got the opportunity to just meet everybody and shake hands, and you can kind of get a good gauge on people, especially being a little bit older and having, met a lot of coaches and been around a lot of things, you kind of get a gauge on how genuine people are being, and everybody here seemed really genuine and like they meant what they said, and everything that I was being recruited, quote unquote, it wasn't really recruiting. It was just kind of telling me the opportunity that there was here, and there was no lies being told or anything, smoke and mirrors or anything like that.
So when you get here, you've run through the T for the first time, you experience a vol walk for the first time. I'm not poo-pooing on the Pac-12, but it's different, right? I mean, it's just a different feel. The sea of people.
Yeah.
What was that like for you? Was that kind of like, whoa, this is pretty neat?
Yeah, it was just really cool. I mean, I just really appreciated it, and I was taken back by it. Hadn't experienced anything like that, like you said, but it was exciting. It kind of made everything kind of come to like realize where I had gotten from where I was, and I was just really glad,
Let's go back to high school. You're 5-star, and for people that don't know, Bruuu could easily have been a 5-star on defense as well. In fact, Trey Johnson's told me he loves to poke fun at you for being so good at defense.
Right.
What was it that made you the player that people coveted so much? Mm-hmm. And then kind of how much have you grown from that player to the player you are now?
I think I'd give a huge credit to the type of program my high school was. I mean, coming from modern day, it's a very like traditional. Coach Rawlinson's very, not to say hard on his players, but he demands a lot, and he helps instill like really good values and how you go about your day to day. So for me, it was just like the work aspect. I was waking up 5 a.m. at school at 6. We were lifting and running in the morning, like essentially a college schedule as a high schooler, and I was commuting an hour and a half to school every day. So it was long days and almost even longer nights, not getting home to about 10 p.m. So I got used to just the work aspect early on. And when I started having success, I wasn't really aware of it just because I had kind of stacked so many days of hard work by that point. I just kind of was just enjoying myself, oblivious to the whole college recruiting. I never thought about getting recruited coming out. And then when I started getting college attention, I was just kind of shocked. Like, this is very surprising. I didn't know, I guess at the time, how good I was or what opportunity I had. And as I got older throughout high school, I started to become more apparent, like, okay, you can actually do this and have success on the next level. But I would credit, my high school coach and the program that we were in mostly.
All right, so he signs with USC, goes to Texas, then back to USC, and everybody's thinking, oh, this kid,
right?
Yeah. Dude, I mean, you're 18. Like, I mean, how many dumb decisions I made when I was 18? I think we all did, right? I mean, you just kind of, you don't know what you want. It's a huge decision, and you get torn. Then you all of a sudden have the deal where you can't play for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. How much did you grow personally, and then learn to appreciate this that you're going through now?
I mean, I think back on it a ton, just like the amount of knowledge and maturity I gained in that time. I mean, and having the game, like not being able to play after all that recruiting, being the 5-star guy and then winning a bunch of awards, going out and having all this attention and then not playing. It was just kind of a bizarre experience for me. I was never big like media guy, drama guy, or anything like that. So when I got all this media backlash, I was kind of surprised. And then, I mean, what came next was just kind of having to grow up a little bit and refocus on like, okay, what's the goal here? What are you trying to accomplish? And not letting kind of what was being said around me kind of determine where I was headed, if that makes sense. And I think that I did a good job of just kind of compartmentalizing like what's being said and what's going on isn't who you are. And the character of the person you are. Just keep being you and you'll end up in the right spot.
Every time you make a catch at Tennessee, do you hear the Bruuu?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How much do you love that? I mean, I would say that because no one else gets that. Like Cedric makes a catch, no, everybody just cheers.
Yeah.
Same thing with Jalen. But for you kind of have a special connection because of that.
Yeah. And I always wondered like where it came from. I don't know if it was just like a thing that everyone did and it just kept rolling. But man, it's the coolest thing ever. The first time I heard it, I thought everybody was booing. I was like looking around the field for a flag or something. But as it's gone on now, like I walk into rooms in the building or classrooms, and people still do that or on campus. So it's really cool.
Where's Bruuu come from? Because that's not your name now, Horace Lee.
Yeah,
which is after your dad.
Right.
Where's Bruuu come from?
As a baby, I was a baby, like 1, 2 year old. That was my grandma used to watch me a lot, and I would fall when she wasn't looking and get all these bruises. So she called me the baby bruiser. And then as I got older, they shortened that to Bru, and it just stuck.
It stuck.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
Mama, grandmother mean a lot to you? It's Mama for me. Mama for us in the
Yeah.
South, but for you, probably Grandma,
Yeah, Nana.
Nana.
Yeah, she means a lot to me for sure.
Yeah, grandparents are the best, man.
Absolutely.
I lost my last one 2 years ago, and miss her greatly. What? How much do you enjoy getting the family out here for games?
It's everything to me. Like, I think it's not even about success on the field to them. It's just they're just happy to be able to experience this with me, and they got no more kids at the house, so they're at every game now, and they get
Empty nesters, man.
Exactly, yeah. They get the opportunity to experience something that they never would have if I didn't end up coming to Tennessee, and just getting to see them happy and have them meet, my teammates' parents, and they create new relationships and things of that nature. Like, that's the coolest thing ever, getting to see them kind of live, not through me, but get to experience something new with me,
Having not played for a couple of years, what were your expectations coming into this year?
I always hold myself to a pretty high expectation. I'd say, like, for me, I don't think about, like, statistics, or I didn't come in saying, like, I need to be a starter. It's more just the mindset, like, how I'm going to go to work. And I think on the back end, I know what the outcome is if you come apply yourself the way you're supposed to. But I expected to just come be myself, you work hard, learn the offense, become a great teammate, settle in. It's a new place, new town, new conference. Everything's different. But I think the best thing I could do was just look at the opportunity for what it was and just go to work.
You were top 10 heading into the last game. I don't know where it stands now, but you were top 10 in receiving yards going into the South Carolina game. Is that even, maybe that number even surprised you a little bit?
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I mean, like, just to hear that out loud. I mean, the big catches you made.
Yeah.
Let's go back to that Pittsburgh game. First touchdown. Was that kind of a release? Like, okay,
Yeah.
Let's
definitely
go.
was. It definitely was. I mean, having not played the season before, as much work you put in, you do. I mean, every athlete, I think, can admit that they second guess themselves at times. And when you have success, it just kind of reassures, like, yeah, I can do this. And then you just keep applying more pressure and get better and build more confidence. And then, it's only up from there.
I texted you after the one game. I think it was Alabama, and I texted you Carl Pickens highlights.
Yeah.
I mean, because a lot of kids don't understand, like the history and numbers. Jalen Hyatt wears 11, so Joey Kent, so did Justin Hunter. Those guys each had 1,000-yard seasons.
Right.
Carl Pickens, Jawan Jennings, they both were 15 here,
Right.
and bald. So that number kind of carries a certain weight. Have you learned more about Tennessee history through your first 8 or 9 months here?
To an extent, yeah. I learned a lot. We do some, like, educational meetings, I guess, in our team meetings, where they kind of run the history of the Tennessee program, so you kind of understand where things come from. Because being in Southern California, I didn't know much growing up about Tennessee football other than Peyton Manning, really, and then Alvin Kamara. But getting here, it's been really interesting to learn some of the history and background, especially at my position. I wasn't aware how much receiver success had come out of this school, and it's been cool to learn. And now I'm a fan of Jawan, so I definitely try to watch him as much as I can.
An LA guy watching the 49ers.
Yeah, surprising, right? Yeah. No, but I feel like his game and his style is similar to mine. A physical guy, not like your 4-2 guy, but great with the ball in his hand. He's just gonna finish plays, and so I try to kind of emulate his game and learn a lot from him. And I hope to one day meet him, kind of talk to him about his experience here, because I feel like it's probably similar.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm sure we could arrange that. When you go back to that Alabama game, there they are, under 30 seconds to go. You get the ball, the initial catch to Ramel, then you. When that ball goes in the air, and Henry kind of got hit as he threw it.
Yeah.
What's going through your mind?
I remember it, like, super vividly. As soon as the ball came up, I was just like, man, it's going to be a rough one if you don't get this one, And I'm a bigger guy, so I was just like, you just got to body this one. Like, you're probably going to take a hit, where the safety's at. And, I mean, it was important. Everybody gets called upon at different times throughout games, and you never know when your time's going to come. Mine just happened to be late in the game, 30 seconds left. And we actually joked because in the lobby the night before, my grandfather was talking to Chase and I, and he was like, I got a feeling you're going to kick the winning kick with 2 seconds left on the clock. And he was, after the game, he found me on the field. And he was like, what did I tell you? What did I tell you? Because he called it right on the dot. Same amount.
Your grandfather got down on the field.
He did. He was the first person I ran into, actually. Yeah.
Well, when Chase is lining up for that field goal,
Yeah.
are you watching or are you kind of like?
Nah, my eyes were shut. I just listened.
Just listen for the sound.
I listened, yeah. I listened. I opened my eyes last second, saw it, took off running.
What was that exhilaration feeling like?
Oh, man, it didn't even feel real at the time, Later in the game, I was kind of talking to Bryce on the sideline, and we're talking about being back in high school. And then we're back on the sideline watching the kick, and I'm like, man, 4 or 5 years ago, I was in high school, like California, no big deal. Now it's like the biggest game ever on TV, and we just won it. So it was unbelievable. I'll never forget that game or that experience.
How much do you appreciate the journey, everything you've been through?
Mm-hmm.
In that type of moment. Same thing with McGrath. I mean, it didn't go the way he wanted to at USC.
Right.
He left. USC's been this weird. It's like when Lane Kiffin left from Tennessee to USC after the 2009 season, it's like USC's been giving Tennessee really solid players back in return. Malik Jackson, Velus Jones,
Yeah.
McGrath, now you.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are roommates.
Yeah.
How special is that? And how, did when you got back to the room that night, did y'all just sit around just reliving that, or did you just go to sleep? What I mean, I can't imagine you slept a whole lot.
We didn't really realize it till the next morning. We were going out to meet our parents for lunch. Kind of just gave each other knuckles. Like, that was pretty cool, huh? We're like, yeah, we got a little 1-2 punch there, and both transfers from Southern Cal, so it was cool. Like, me and him are both pretty laid back dudes, so we didn't really make a big deal out of it, but we understood that it was we did something,
What college players when you were a kid did you kind of watch and try to emulate? Who anybody in particular?
I grew up a big Reggie Bush guy. That was my because I mean, you grow up in proximity to any university that has success like that in a time period. You kind of grow up in the after effect of that. So I mean, everybody was wearing Reggie Bush jerseys, liner jerseys when I was growing up. So I wore 5 my whole career, all the way until I couldn't anymore. And I used to watch his highlights before all my games. Had his fat head in my room, but I wanted to play running back because of that. That didn't work out.
You'd be like Derrick Henry playing running back.
Yeah, exactly.
At your size.
Yeah.
If you could get drafted by an NFL team, East Coast, West Coast?
Mm-hmm. I'd probably say, honestly, the Rams, just because so much of my family's kind of made their way to LA. So I think it would be cool to, have a professional career back at where you grew up. It's a really cool experience. And I've been to SoFi, like that stadium was unbelievable. I was hoping to make it back there this year.
Everybody was.
Right. But yeah, the Rams, Chargers, or if I was saying the East Coast, probably Giants. I like the Giants because I was big on Odell when he was on the Giants, and I like the Giants jerseys too.
Does your history with football just kind of from when you've been alive? Do you ever go back and watch 80s, 90s type stuff?
Honestly, not really, because I feel like the game has changed a lot. So
has.
You can look at players, but you can't really look at the game quite the same, just because how things have evolved. I feel like things have gotten a little bit, at least offensively, the pace of the game has changed, and you throw the ball a lot more. When you look back, 90s, 80s, it was a little bit different ball game, more pro style, more drop back quarterbacks, not as much running with the quarterback. But I do watch like old receiver highlights,
Such as?
Randy Moss, Jerry Rice, a lot of Calvin Johnson, because my previous receiver coach, Kerry Colbert, was on the Lions with Calvin Johnson, so he had a bunch of his practice film. So he gave me that practice film. So I used to watch his just practice film, game film, anything on him, because
Oh,
he was
he's
just
not even that
dominant.
old.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, I watched
not
him.
at all.
I covered his recruitment. I believe tells you how old I am. We had this. We had Josiah and Sed out. I asked him, MJ or LeBron. Said Kobe.
Over
Which was a because everybody loves to say
Yeah.
MJ or LeBron. You in that camp too, just because you're an LA guy?
I mean, is the question? Who's the best?
Who's the greatest of all time?
I'll say if I'm picking a teammate, I'm picking Kobe. Best player, if you're looking at stats, you pick LeBron, but I think
Better winner, champion.
you take Michael Jordan for sure. And I think there's a big change. Had that documentary not come out, I don't know if people would have their opinions about MJ the way they
Yeah, it kind
do.
of refreshed everybody.
It absolutely did.
Especially during COVID. Everybody sitting at home, so everybody watches The Last Dance.
Exactly.
And, kind of refreshed this generation to how good and dominant he was. Extracurriculars. What golfer?
I golf. I used to golf at home. I grew up skateboarding, surfing, riding bikes, fishing. Out here, I haven't gone in the water yet, but I want to. Hopefully, in the off season, go fishing out here. But I was really outdoors growing up, outdoors kid. Like, rode my bike everywhere. So all my extracurriculars were just whatever like me and the neighborhood kids got into.
If you rode your bike, I hope you didn't grab it to the ice cream truck like Darnell.
Nah.
Favorite UT tradition: ball walk or run through the tee?
I'll say ball walk. Running through the tee is unbelievable, but the ball walk's cool just because it feels a little bit more personal. It's cool to like get to slap five with a bunch of fans and say hello, and you feel like you're almost giving something back by kind of getting to interact, even though it's in brief in passing, but it does feel good. And then I mean, I'll never forget any of the running through the tee moments, but the ball walk I would say is a cooler experience, just getting to look over like the sea of people, as you walk in the stadium, and it's early and you just see the passion that the fans have showing up for you at that time.
Orange out or checker kneeling?
Checker kneeling, definitely. That's the coolest thing I've seen was checker kneeling. I was hoping we do it more than once,
Checker kneeling. Well, you'll do it next year.
Yeah.
Checker kneeling or cigar smoke flowing through the stadium?
That's a tough one. I gotta go cigar smoke. That's a spectacle. That picture and the videos I saw after the Alabama game, there's not like anything else I've ever seen after a game.
Do you ever pay attention on Twitter to like the memes and stuff of like Coach Heupel, and they have the rhymes and it's like balls by 50 or whatever?
So I just got a Twitter like 2 weeks ago, so I'm so out of the loop on everything. Like I just made a Twitter account.
Is it your name?
Yeah, it's just Bru McCoy 15. Yeah.
How many followers you already got?
I don't even know.
Have you tweeted yet?
No, haven't tweeted anything because I mean you try to kind of mitigate distractions.
Sure, I get it.
Yeah, but nah, I haven't seen any memes or anything. I've seen a shirt of Coach Heupel, but that's about it.
Cedric going to be going to the league.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what Jalen does. Next year could be you're the main guy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you kind of welcome that?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, as anybody would, but I feel like this year was a good year to just show what I can do, and then we get a great opportunity next year. Not to look past what we have left here this season, but we get a great opportunity, or I personally get a great opportunity to just be the main guy, hopefully, and just have more success, help this team win.
What motivates you?
I guess the more so the fear of failure and losing. I hate losing more than I love winning. My mindset's always been like you expect to win, so you don't get too high on your wins, but you definitely get down on your losses at times. But I just get motivated by not ever wanting to. I don't ever want to look back on anything I've done and felt like I didn't pour into it the way I should have. I don't want to have any regrets, because I think at a certain point in time I was looking back regretting certain decisions, and now it's just like, why not go all in on everything and then let God handle the rest.
Wish you'd picked here out of high school. I mean, I know it was different. It wasn't even a factor, but I mean, like, knowing what you know now.
Right.
or do you say no because the journey that got me here helped me become the player I am?
I would say the journey. Would I change it if I could? Probably. In hindsight, but hindsight's always 20/20. Who knows what else could have happened? There's injuries, things of that nature. You never know what God has in store. But I think the lessons I learned, the mental maturity more so that I was able to gain through my whole journey, or whatever you want to call it, it gave me like valuable life skills that are really going to help me be successful moving forward and have helped me now being here.
Well, like I said, I think most fans kind of saw you as kind of like this mysterious person, right?
Right.
You didn't do a lot of interviews. You've got all this stuff going on around you. You go in the transfer portal. And when you and I did the interview that day, it was probably 99.9% were like, whoa, that guy is so well-spoken and so mature, and like, we got to land this guy. Have you always been that? Or is that something where you've kind of morphed as you've matured? At
heart, I've always been that guy. That's just kind of like the morals I was raised on, how to be and who to be. I think how I conduct myself and how you represent yourself is like one of the most important, if not the most important thing in life. And if you can't like articulate yourself well or speak well or things of that nature, then people are going to have these predispositions about you. So I've always tried to be very cognizant of how I carry myself and represent myself, and not really let, outside noise kind of determine who I am, because I know who I am and how I was raised ultimately. But yeah, I mean, it's always been important to me,
Because of that, were you able to handle not being eligible when you first got here, and then eventually getting eligible in that manner? Because, I think everybody was getting anxious the further we got down the road and the more we went into fall camp. And,
right.
USC was doing what they were doing,
Right.
and they kind of got a little pressure put on them. But, did you kind of, were you sitting back anxious too? Or were you kind of like, look, I'm either going to play or I'm not.
Yeah.
I can't let it affect who I am.
A little bit of both. I mean, there's that aspect of you control what you can control. And then it's also like, yeah, but I didn't do all this. Just come this far,
Sure.
I'm sit. So I was anxious, and Coach Heupel actually kind of messed with me when he gave me the news a little bit. He walked me down, and he was real, like, looking all sad and upset. And then he put his arm around me, and I was like, oh, great, here we go. And he's like, just walk with me. And we walked in the office, and then he's like, well, you ready to play this year? And I was like, oh, come on, Coach, you can't do me like that. But it was interesting. Like, it's kind of sat there like fingers crossed, the whole time. And if it didn't work out, it didn't work out. But I was confident that it would.
I remember him telling the story about being there when you got to call your dad and mom.
Yeah.
That had to be pretty neat, right?
Absolutely.
Did you mess with them, or was it just more direct?
It was more direct with them, but I think he did get the rest of the staff after that.
Is he a prankster?
A little bit. Yeah.
Sneaky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Best prank you've seen him pull?
That one, by far. He had me going, and then he got Coach Pope after that too, like directly after that.
One thing you miss most about home in LA, and one thing you're like, oh, I'm glad I did not. I mean, I'd try traffic, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Let's take traffic off the board then.
Take
Besides
traffic
traffic, what's the one thing you don't miss, and then the one thing you do miss?
I miss street tacos. I used to eat a lot of good street tacos. There's still some good street tacos in Knoxville, but I had a spot in like an AutoZone parking lot I would always go to that I was a big fan of. Something I don't miss, honestly, where I was living at the time, like, I didn't want to pay too much for rent. How rent in LA could
Sure.
be, so I chose to live in a little bit
Sketch area.
Yeah, so I don't miss the sirens, and we used to play gunshots or fireworks at the apartment because you never knew which one it was.
Joe will be the quarterback Saturday. What's that rapport like? Because, I mean, it's been Hendon this whole time, and all of a sudden
Right.
now you got to adjust. Almost feels like Ramel's sitting in the catbird seat because he's been catching, running behind in with the twos most of the year.
Right.
What's that rapport like for you?
Me and Joe have a really good rapport. When you're throwing routes throughout the summer and stuff like that, you really get the same amount of reps between the two of them, because I think partially just because of pitch count type of thing. And then,
But is it different trying to catch? I mean, everybody loves to talk about his arm strength, and it's ridiculous, right?
yeah, unbelievable.
But the one thing I think everybody can agree on is Hendon throws a quote softer ball.
Right.
It's a more catchable ball than Joe. So how do you have to adjust for Joe?
For me, it's more so just like I feel like I try to catch everything that comes my way. So like that's on me. It's not really adjusting to Joe. Like if I can't catch a ball just because moving a little faster, or I can't run under it because he's gonna sling the rock the way he is. That's just something I have to be cognizant of. Like I think we put enough time in practice and had enough reps together where it doesn't really feel like there's no panic at all really with Joe coming in. And I'm excited to see him get to play a full game, come out and be the starter.
You talk about Kelsey a minute ago. He got the job, about the same time you were looking at coming here.
Right.
Didn't have the Power 5 experience, but is clearly connected with you boys, connected in the room. What's he do well?
He can, definitely connecting and cultivating like a competitive environment, but also like it's like a brotherhood within a brotherhood inside our specific receiving room. It's highly competitive and like very accountable to what we do. Like he's hard on us to an extent where you want to be hard on yourself, and you find yourself not wanting to let like yourself down or not hold yourself to the expectation that's been set in the room. So he's just done an incredible job, not only just coaching details, how to be detail oriented, but also helping kind of bring our room together, and then also help us grow as young men too. Each meeting we try to hit a word of the day, which is just outside of football. Let's talk through something about life.
What was the word today?
Today we talked about flushing last week, which that was a little bit more football oriented, but it was important to talk about like how to move forward and how to just, you take in what just happened, but you don't let it affect what you're about to do. And if anything, you attack the day a little bit harder. You don't kind of get lazy now. It's the end of the year. It'd be easy to make excuses, and, everybody's tired and banged up, but, how are you going to respond? And so that was what we focused on today. But like things like that is what helps us be successful too.
I asked this last week. Favorite assistant coach not named your position coach. So it can't be Coach Pope, but on the field assistant coach. Who do you like best?
Jared Perry. Just because he's one of our signal guys, but also he's involved with like the quarterbacks and the receivers. So he was the first person I sat and watched film with when I got here, and we kind of developed a good relationship from that point on. But he's hilarious, and he kind of keeps when things get a little bit high strung, he's kind of the calm,
He's the nice change up guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I understand that. You got to have those. All right, we're going to go rapid fire here.
All right.
When you lived in LA, give us a fun celebrity encounter.
Oh, fun celebrity encounter. I met Johnny Manziel out to dinner and got to talk to him for a while, and it was he was really cool and like open, so I just asked him about like his experience, what he was up to and stuff. That was a really cool encounter. I run into LeBron because at the time Sayer, he was on the team, or we were on the team together, and Space Jam was coming out, so we were able to go to the premiere for Space Jam and got to talk to LeBron, spend some time with him. That was really cool.
The big human.
It's a lot, yeah.
You're big, and I would imagine he just dwarfs
like
you.
that, yeah, completely.
Favorite movie of all time?
Forrest Gump.
Why?
We did a character walk when I was in elementary school, and he was the character I chose. I really liked him. I felt like the movie kind of had every aspect of a movie you want. Like, it had the war, it had the football, had the girl. And it was my favorite movie growing up as a kid, so I've always stuck with it.
Favorite character in that movie besides Forrest Gump?
Bubba. Without a doubt.
Bubba.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Dan. Greatest achievement off the field for you is what?
I would say I spent a lot of time giving back to the homeless community in LA back home. And for me, like, it wasn't something we filmed or something we talked about. It was just something me and some of the guys I live with, we just got up and did it. And it just felt good to give back. And it was at a time where I felt like a lot of things were being done for publicity, but we kind of made it the point just to do it out of the kindness of our heart. And I guess now it kind of shoots that in the foot a little bit. But yeah, that's probably one of my bigger accomplishments, like just independently deciding to go do something out of my own way like that.
without being told to.
Right.
Coolest place you've traveled to?
The Bahamas. That was the coolest place I've traveled to for sure.
In-N-Out or Shake Shack?
In-N-Out.
What's
Undoubtedly.
your go-to there?
Animal style fries, double, grilled onions, animal style burger, probably a vanilla chocolate shake.
East Tennessee's version of that is called Pals. Have you heard of this?
I haven't.
We have to make that happen.
Yeah.
We
I
have
need
to make
know.
that happen. Cooper goes a lot.
Does
You should
he?
get with Cooper.
Oh, that's
Dane
good.
Davis.
Yeah.
All these Upper East Tennessee guys
Yeah, they know.
will indoctrinate you to Pals. NFL stadium you want to play in the most, not named SoFi.
Not
Because I
named
know that's what
SoFi.
you're going to say.
It was the Steelers Stadium,
Yeah.
Cowboy Stadium.
Yeah, you might get that because the Cotton Bowl is a possibility.
Most definitely.
Same thing with the Orange Bowl. Got to win Saturday, though. Otherwise, you'll be in Orlando
Yeah.
for the Citrus Bowl. How does your role on the field influence your relationships off the field?
I try not to let it at all. I try to have relationships that are like not ever really based on success on the field. Obviously, like you get a little bit more attention from people and stuff like that, but what I do on the field, I try to keep separate from what I do off, because it makes things easier like that.
Well, Tennessee will be looking for a 10th win coming up on Saturday. That would be the first time since 2003 that Tennessee gets 10 wins in a regular season, and hopefully the orange and white fans in attendance are saying, Bruuu.
No doubt.
Big time receiver. We appreciate you joining us here on the
Appreciate
show
you.
tonight. It's been a great time catching up, finding out where Bruuu comes from. I think that was fascinating.
Yeah.
Nana, Grandma, love Grandma.
Yep.
Always spend time with Grandma. He's Bru McCoy. I'm Austin Price. We'll talk to you next week, everybody, for another Ball Club Confidential.